Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
I want you, Captain America, to help me rebuild the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yes, sir.
We are the Thunderbolts!
Can't call ourselves that.
God, thank you.
When I became president, first thing I asked was about the secrets. Aliens. Who killed JFK? You're the only one I really trust. I'd like to talk to you about the future.
I think you missed out on a little bit of Superman talk. We were just talking about how ridiculous, amongst other things, James Gunn's Doomsday was, which he was more of like a Zack Snyder's Doomsday. He was more like an abomination. Mr. Mike, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. A little tired, but you know.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
I started waking up at 5 a.m. to go for like walks, try to get like a mile walking in the morning because my doctor said I need to lose weight. And now, even on the days that I don't want to walk 5 miles, walk my mile, my body still wakes up at 5, and that's not fun.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I got to start doing that. I don't think I'm gonna do it in the morning because I get up at 5 anyway, so it'll probably be like evening walk at least a couple days a week.
And mind you, you're the one that lives in an area where you can get up at 5 and it's probably what, 60 degrees. Nice.
Yeah. Now it is. It's been cold, in the 50s, but now it's starting to get in the upper 60s in the morning.
I'll take 50s. I'll gladly take 50s after today's 40 and rain.
Yeah. Yeah, we were fortunate in our trip up there because it was kind of warm up there last weekend.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
All right, let us get into it. Disney's foray into live action, I wouldn't say it was in mixed results. I'd say it's pretty much been a failure.
It's been kind of a mixed bag. Beauty and the Beast, I think, did fairly well. I think even that Lion King thing, which wasn't technically live action, there was only like one human person in it, but I think that still did fairly well. Cinderella was, did okay. Aladdin was an abomination. And Snow White seems to be completely falling on its face.
I don't watch a lot of linear television anymore. I didn't see trailers for this thing, and I didn't see trailers or ads for this thing online. Was this thing dead on the water? Dead on arrival?
It was. This thing has basically had everything going against it. So, when they did the first kind of sneak peek look, they had, kind of reimagined the dwarves. They're not little people. That got a lot of consternation.
Did they ever say why they didn't make them little people?
It's probably just they didn't want to offend little people. I think. I don't know. But even little people are offended that they're not little people.
Because it's jobs.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just the story's unrecognizable. And then, what's her name? Ziegler has been coming out and talking about how this is not a Snow White who's looking for her prince, and she's not looking for love, and she's looking to be the strong leader she knows she is. And it's like, this is Snow White? Because that's not the story of Snow White. I understand you want to tweak it a little bit or reimagine it a little bit, but you gotta really kind of stick with the basic undertones of it. Imagine, redoing Cinderella and it's like Cinderella's not looking for a man,
But what's funny? Even if they'd have left the movie the way she said it was, you don't gotta come out and say it with all that bravado. Just say, hey, we put a spin on it. We put a twist. Let
Right.
people go to movie theaters and be surprised. I think once you start saying all that and you take that tone, you've already turned people off. Like she could have said, you know what? We just did a little bit differently and we just hope audiences will go in with an open mind and enjoy it. Cool, no problem. Don't challenge people. You don't got to do that. Like, I don't know. Maybe they got to start going over, like, redoing media training with these folks. But sometimes the less you say before this film drops, the better. Because, like, what you just said, that's pretty much all I knew about this film. I saw a couple of trailers, but I'd seen her comments, and it was like, okay, I guess so. You could have just let me be surprised or just taken a different tone. I'm not going to chalk all of the film's failures up to that, but
No.
pretty sure that turned off some people
Well,
once they
I
heard
mean,
that.
it's almost like at every turn, like everything that every decision that they made was a bad decision. When they cast Ziegler, it was like, people would complain because you're casting a Latina to be Snow White. And then Latinos were complaining because she's literally the whitest Latina in Hollywood. And it's like, is not it's an act she's an actor. She's
They
acting
could have
a
just
she's acting the role of a character who doesn't exist. Like that's
that.
like
That's
it it's like Little Mermaid, you know?
that's point A.
You're mad because we hired a black girl to play Ariel, Little Mermaid. Mermaids don't exist. How do you know what
Exactly.
color they are?
And this is just me being a jerk. She could have just said, it's just payback because you didn't hire a Latina to play Marie in West Side Story. So now we're even and call it even at that. But yeah, that's a weird one. Like when people get perfect example, right? What's Denzel doing on Broadway with Gyllenhaal? So Othello, right?
Othello, like a modern version of Othello with Jake Gyllenhaal. It's supposed to be awesome.
Nobody gives a crap that it's because it's about the skin color because it's Denzel, right?
Right.
She isn't a big
Well,
enough
except
name.
Othello is a dark skinned character.
Oh yeah, my fault. That wasn't the best analogy.
Yeah. No,
I'm
I know
trying to
what you
think.
mean though. Yeah.
Okay, when he did Macbeth on Apple TV, right?
Right.
It's Denzel.
Right. Yeah. Nobody
In
cares.
her case, A, like you said, the first point is it's a fictional character, but two, she's not a big enough actress that you can just put her in any role, and some people aren't going to complain about it, right?
Right.
If you told me Tom Hanks is playing, I don't know, just any role that's probably not a white guy, but you're just like, you know what, Tom Hanks will pull that off. You'll find someone who's going to complain, but the most majority of people are like, no, it's Tom Hanks. He can do what he wants. When I look at her, I know she's Latina, but she's super white. I just see a random actress. I haven't seen enough stuff with her in it, so it doesn't really offend me. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, crap, you already used a girl from Harry Potter, so that wasn't gonna work. I don't know. I'm not sure I don't keep up with like who these young starlets are right now, and I don't know who you could put in that role that it wouldn't piss people off. But I don't think it's her, because I remember there was some controversy about her getting the role in West Side Story, and her skin color was an issue with that.
Her skin color was an issue with
Um,
that. The fact that she's not Puerto Rican, she's half Colombian,
yeah,
half Polish. It's
oof.
like, well, we could, but it's almost to the point now where people are like, no, you need to cast exactly the thing that you're telling the story about. It's like it's called acting. You
I'll
know,
say this: there's a few times where that holds true. The Zoe Saldana playing Nina Simone was like, what in the world are you
right?
thinking?
Yeah. No,
Um,
look, I get it.
yeah,
There's times, but that was a biography, a
yeah.
biographical character. You know what I'm saying? And it's a little bit different than like it's a little bit different than this is. This is a
No, no,
fake
no, no.
fictional character, but even in West Side Story, it's a fictional character. Yes, they're supposed to be Puerto Rican, but does that mean that you have to have it's like, well, like, am I only going to cast like Irish Americans to play Irish Americans now, or Italians to play Italians, and
I
oh,
would
you're
be in
not one
favor of it.
third Polish, so you can't play this guy who's one third Polish. I mean, where does it stop?
I'll say this though. I prefer perfectly with like if you're gonna acting is acting, but if you got some cultural skin in the game, I think it helps. And this is
I
so,
agree with that.
and folks, if you listen to this show, don't chew me out. When I go to get my pizza, I like to know it's made by Italians. It's a place in Bridgeport, Vinny's Pizza. It's one of the best places in Connecticut. And I love the fact that the guys making are these two 80-year-old salty, angry Italian dudes. But it tastes phenomenal. Hey, call me crazy. It works.
Personally, I like to know my pizza's made by Greeks, but
Oh, I got a Polish friend that'll fight you on that one. Man, this took a left turn. But
the other problem with this movie is that you know Ziegler has come out like this super pro Palestinian on the thing, and sorry, your co-star is Israeli.
How the hell did that go?
It went awful. Like the tension in the press junkets was palpable, and I mean,
did she not know that woman was in the Israeli army too?
yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just like there's a time and a place for everything. People want to talk about the movie, they don't want to talk about your political views, and that goes for me anywhere. Look, you have a platform and you want to use your platform, that's fine. But if you're doing this thing, then do the thing. And you have a responsibility to get people to come see your movie and not be divisive on the press junkets. And both of them, it's not just her. Gal Gadot was, doing her stuff too. It's like, couldn't all this wait? I mean,
But you know what?
yeah, it's important, and arguably it's more important than a movie. I mean, it's a tough call either way, but you could not have put two worse people together at this point.
I can accept it more from Gal Gadot
because she's actually Israeli.
Exactly, and you were in that military. I can't take it as much coming from the other person. You don't have the same skin in the game as this other person. You don't. And that doesn't mean that, people can't help other people's causes, but your literal co-star is from this place, has put on this uniform. I don't know if she saw combat, but you put on that uniform. You went through basic training.
No, I don't think she did. I mean, don't forget, military service is compulsory in Israel.
It's requirement.
Yeah.
So you've got to be a much more aware, than to do something like that. Like, that's a really big lack of self-awareness right there. Really big. What?
So anyway, this movie, $250 million budget, had a opening weekend they projected of 43 million domestically and about 44 million or 44 million internationally. So $87 million opening weekend, not anywhere near what they were hoping to be north of 100 million.
Jeez.
On this thing on opening weekend. Reviews are, I think it's sitting at a 44 on Rotten Tomatoes and a 74 audience score.
So from the people that you trust, what do the reviews look like?
That it's boring. It's a slog to get through.
What's wrong over there? Something's wrong over there.
I think it's just everybody's trying to please everybody and winding up pleasing nobody. They ran into this with Star Wars. They went, The Force Awakens, and people complained that it was formulaic, so they gave it to, kind of a visionary guy like Ryan Johnson who kind of took it in a different direction, and people complained about it, so they overcorrected the whole thing and gave us that mess that I won't even mention. You know, um, it's just a matter of they're just trying to be so reactive, I think, and trying to please everybody and trying to be, whatever they feel that they need to be in terms of progressivism and stuff like that. And look, movies have always been progressive for the most part. I get that. But, you know, this is a retelling of a children's story. I think you don't have to it doesn't have to be so upfront about it. You could still make the change, like you said, you could still make the changes, you could still massage it, adapt it, change it, put a different message out there. Look, if you don't want to put the message out there that Snow White needs a man to satisfy herself, I'm all for that. Cool. But, you know, you don't have to hang such a lampshade on it in the promotional material.
Exactly.
Get people in to see the movie and let them hear your message that way. Don't bury don't put it out front so that
Now I
everybody
don't got to see it.
they hear that. It's like, I don't got to see it now. I don't want to see that mess.
You know what's crazy?
Not. You know what? They did this and it was actually really good.
Tangled. Like, did you ever watch Tangled?
Yeah, of course.
It's pretty much the theme of Tangled too. Like, Rapunzel took care of herself. Like, they've shown they can do it and not piss people off. And not once before Tangled came out did I hear anybody say, "Hey, this is the message." No, just here's some trailers. Go see it. I just, and I think thinking about Captain America, excuse me, how I think you said it was solid. I said it was super solid. Um, and just think about the last few things they've done. Not even just MCU, just everything in totality. Ah, they just got to make some good movies, man. Like, just like when they, I don't know, at some point in the process, like, are we just making a good movie? Let's just make some good movies. And I know you got to recoup your money, and I know there's budgets, but just get a string of hits. Like, it feels like they're a guy that's. It's funny because I'm watching baseball lately. I feel like they're a guy that's like was a superstar hitter coming back from an injury rehab, and they're just in their own heads. It's like, dude, you just got to get some hits. Just get some solid hits. Get on base. And and then so, which leads me to, have you seen like the reviews for was it Electric State with the Russos?
No.
They ain't been good. And I'm sure, I'm gonna say I'm sure. I hope they still know how to make a good Marvel movie, but it doesn't seem like the things that they do outside of Marvel have been good. So now I have concerns for these next two projects. So let me ask you this. Is the movie industry in a hole in a weird place?
Yeah, I think it probably is. I think, they're still kind of in this weird place of they don't really know where their money's coming from. Um, because you have studios like Netflix and Amazon that are making big budget movies now and that are not seeing a lot of theaters. So the whole model is still really in flux. And then, you've got the kind of more traditional Hollywood films that are trying to, keep with their business model going on. And it's just everybody's just, and then it's such a politically charged climate right now that everybody is either all the way on one side or all the way on the other side, and they're afraid to. I don't know, man. It's like they're afraid to take a swipe at anything, and everybody feels like they need to just kind of be, I don't know, like, I mean, look at, we talked about this with the Oscars things. It's like, look at, these like best picture nominees and the films that are really front runners. And there's always like going to be movies that nobody saw that are up there. But I mean, this was a weird bunch of films that got recognized, and it's almost like Hollywood doesn't know what to do with itself, and they're afraid to really commit to anything. So they're just playing everything very safe, and that's never been what they were supposed to be about. Hollywood films in a large way have always pushed the boundary, and the fact that they're almost afraid to do that now is really kind of disappointing.
I don't know, man, because it's been a lot of. It seems like the things I'm most interested in seeing lately are, stuff that Apple's doing. Like I said for a while, they're slowly taking that crown of prestige TV from HBO. It just hasn't been a lot that's come out that I'm like, oh man, this looks really good. This looks interesting. Does it seem like these networks and studios are putting more resources in their streaming projects too?
It feels like they're almost pulling back from that a little bit in some ways.
Okay.
Although you're still gonna get, HBO throwing all the money at everything. I mean, they just dropped another trailer for the Last of Us today.
That looks good.
And man, it looks expensive. Um, you know, Andor, they dropped another trailer for Andor this week, and man, it looks expensive. Um, but I think in some cases, like some of these movies, like we've talked about this, like Reacher looks like it's scaled back a little bit,
Definitely
telling a
does.
smaller story.
You can tell.
Lioness looked like it scaled back in its second season. It's telling a little smaller story. So I think, they're deciding where they want to spend their money, and they're spending all that money there. And then, kind of the middle of the road stuff, they're looking to save whatever money they can. Which, I mean, I guess that's probably a smart business decision.
Yeah, and I'm not as happy with this season of Reacher either. It's not bad. It's just
No, it's not bad. I watched, I was a little behind because of the traveling. I watched the last two episodes that were on, I think 6 and 7 last night. I mean, it's pretty decent stuff.
It's just not last season.
It's just not last season, yeah.
But that also goes to say how high they set that bar for last season. Because that thing was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Let's see. Daredevil. No. How caught up are you on Paradise?
I'm done.
Okay, so with what you've seen now, how do you feel about the show? Do you still hold it in the high regards you did that first episode?
I will tell you this. So I think the show's really great. Sterling's amazing in it.
He should be Captain America.
He really should. He is really, really good in it. I will tell you that I really did not like the last 15 minutes of it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think. I mean, are we going to spoil anything here?
Yep,
Or
yep, yep,
okay,
yep. They've had long
all
enough.
right, all right. So I think it was very unsatisfying that Xavier did not shoot Samantha. Like I think Xavier should have shot Samantha.
Yes.
Not what's her face. You know, if she'd have said something like, she thought she was getting over on him, it's like, oh, I've got your daughter, and he'd have been like, yeah, way wrong answer, and just shot her. Like she
Yep.
could still be in recovery. She could still come back next season. Maybe he thinks she's dead, and she turns out she's not dead. That's cool. But it was really unsatisfying that he didn't do that, and that the other girl, had to walk in and do it out of
Yeah, I feel
nowhere.
like that took something from him.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You've taken him all this distance
Yep.
and now allow him to take his agency away from her, and you drop the ball on the goal line. And
Agree
then
completely.
I always hate those like montage things at the end of a season where like I mean, I guess I understand the narrative purpose of them where they show where everybody is, but they always just feel clumsy to me.
Oh, I agree. I was disappointed with how that ended because up until then it was pretty much flawless.
Yeah, and Marsden, oh, he's so good. He's so good.
Fox really
That
screwed up with
that whole
Cyclops.
president in the bathrobe thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. And then, going to the library, making the mixtape and leaving the message for his son, but knowing all these flashbacks and knowing what he did and now how we got to this place and the decision that he made and what it cost. It was heartbreaking watching him go through that.
And it's gonna be tough because you have to kill him for the show to work, but man, I'm gonna miss him not being there for season 2.
Yeah, I mean, how we're really kind of out of flashbacks at this point.
Yeah. But I'll say this.
But I
If
mean,
I'm Feige, I'm
go
finding
ahead.
something for that guy to do in the MCU.
Dude, he completely brought his A game to this. I mean, as good as he was in Westworld as Steady, he was next level in this thing.
Sneaky underrated actor.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm excited. I'm happy that we're getting to season 2.
Oh, so am I.
I like that it wasn't, like 15, 16 episodes. Pretty much every episode was like solid to good. Felt bad that, they killed my boy. What was his name?
Oh, his buddy.
Yeah. And it's funny because like even though like I didn't like the way it ended, I did hop up on Blue Sky, and I was like, next time somebody asks you for a Nintendo Wii, just give them the Nintendo Wii.
Yeah, seriously, just give her the Wii, man.
Yep. All right.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you didn't like that whole thing was unnecessary. Like you could have just shown her playing the Wii. You know what I'm saying? And we could have just surmised, oh, she stole the Wii from
Mm-hmm.
she stole the president's Wii. Like we're not stupid. You know?
I-
I mean, and I mean, I thought it was fine when she killed Billy. Like that was a
Yeah.
good moment
Yep.
because I didn't see that coming.
No, she played
And
Ditzy very well.
what's that?
She played Ditzy very well.
She did. Yeah. So I didn't see that coming, and that was cool. And then like you could have played it like, yeah, like she took the girl and had Xavier shot Samantha. It would have made sense for her to go back and now oh wait, I'm gonna switch allegiances now and here's your daughter. I had her the whole time. I was just protecting her, you know.
Hell, You could have had her ask Xavier for the week. Hey, I just want the week. Give me your daughter, and I'll give you your daughter.
Right.
And it worked. It still works. I would like. I wish like sometimes in the director's cut or some behind the scenes they can explain why they made certain decisions that they made. Like, I need you to show your work on this one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they made it because they thought it was a good story. I mean, nobody sets out to make a bad TV show.
No.
They made it because they thought it was a compelling story, or maybe they didn't come up with something, or maybe they have reason. Like, it's like we've talked about this, like at the end of Civil War, right? Like I've always said, like, they should have ended it with Zemo and Ross. They shouldn't have let us off the hook with Rhodey. Let us think that Rhodey's dead. And but they have their reasons, and they have that. Oh, we can't do that. Blah blah blah.
It felt like a Disney thing.
Yeah, it's like we need the happy ending. You
Like,
don't need to watch the pit. Okay, you could do it without any happy endings.
So speaking of that, my wife watched it and she said she was bored. And then I was like, "It's because you work at a hospital."
Yeah, no.
And she was like, "Yeah." She like,
how far did she get?
My life. She finished it.
Really? She watched this week's episode and she was bored.
Yeah, like she's watched. She likes the show, but she's like, it doesn't hit for her the same. And then so I hit up my cousin. He's an EMT. I was like, "How do you like the pit?" He goes, "I like it, but it doesn't hit." Because he's seen the reviews. He goes, I work in the ambulance for the past 15 years, so he goes, it's a little different for me. And I'm like, okay. I was like, maybe nobody that works in the medical field should watch this because this thing is,
I don't know.
intense. There's times where I gotta look away.
I was talking to a woman last week she's an ER nurse down here, and she was like, it's like giving her PTSD because it's like but she did say if anything, it's underselling how stressful it is.
Okay.
So maybe I can see that.
Interesting. I have to turn away a lot because I don't do well with gore and blood.
So Daredevil.
I've seen some chatter where people are like, "Hey, it's not enough Daredevil in this show." Where are you at with that?
There's almost no Daredevil in this show so far, but I think that's kind of the point.
And it doesn't bother me one bit.
So far, actually, it doesn't. Because I see, like, are you caught up? Like, did you watch this episode? Yeah. So I see Matt creeping back to it.
Yep.
And obviously I see Fisk creeping back to it, or never having been
exactly
in the first place.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly.
But I think like the conversation with Matt and Frank Castle,
excellent,
was really good and kind of shows you where these guys are. And I think if anything, Castle was like maybe pushing Matt back towards, being on the rooftop kind of thing.
So
I don't think it's going to be long.
No, I went back and watched the entire first season of Daredevil, for seasons 1 and 2 of Luke Cage, and I started season 2 of Daredevil. The fact that Kevin Feige or whoever thought that they could make this show anything other than what it was on Netflix is disrespectful. As good as they've been in the MCU, and there's been a lot more good than people have tried to give, been knocking them for lately. I would say all 3 seasons of Daredevil are as good, if not better, than almost anything they've done. Anything.
I think anybody would agree with that. But I will give them this. They've already told that story.
No. So what I'm saying is, I think they were going to try to like do the typical haha yuck yuck MCU stuff with this character. Like, it's okay for characters to interact, but going back to what we saw from him in She-Hulk, right? Then you think about how they portrayed Fisk in Hawkeye. He wasn't anywhere thing close to the Wilson Fisk that we saw on Netflix. He was in charge of the tracksuit mafia, wearing a Hawaiian shirt, operating out of the back of a toy store. You know, and it was like, is that where you're trying to go with this character? Is that what you're trying to tell us? I'm kind of upset. Like, I was sitting there watching season 1, and I'm just like, and you see the similarities between season 1 and what's going on now. He doesn't have the red suit, and he's working, he's going to get it eventually. Then in this season, he just hadn't put it back on yet. And I'm like, I can't believe they really thought that this show needed to be something else. And then you see the comments from John Bernthal, and he was like, hey, I wasn't going to come back to this after I saw what was presented to me. And you see some of the comments from this guy that plays Kingpin, his name, I don't want to mispronounce it.
D'Onofrio?
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, it was different. And, thankfully with the strikes, we were able to change it up a bit. And I would love to know what the hell they were going to try to do. What were you going to try to do? Like, we were presented with these super comic book accurate versions of these characters. TV mature, extremely violent, graphic. You're going to try to MCU this up, lighten it up. They'd have been criticized because it's not like, because I also watched the Ben Affleck Daredevil, where the thing that they were following behind was, 20 years old. No, this is recent. It's on your library, and it's there for all the world to see, and it's still very, very good. Y'all are gonna ruin this thing. And I just feel like, man, that was disrespectful. You were gonna bring these people back and just pee on what they created. I don't know. But folks, if you watch it, you have Disney Plus, go back and watch them. You can skip over Kung Fu Kid, Iron Fist, but almost everything else up there is good. Like, season 1 of Luke Cage is too preachy for me. Season 2 is good, and it's because they're not focusing on as much on Luke Cage but everything else going on around him in Harlem. Like, it needed more of Bushmaster. Really, all that stuff is good. Your thoughts on what I just said?
I think you're largely right. I think that, what kind of enticed them into coming into the into this series and coming back to it after so much time was that, they could do a kind of a darker, more of a character introspective piece, which it's so far it appears to be that they're doing. I haven't read the Born Again storyline, so I don't know how close it is. Have you read that?
So I haven't read enough of it. The interesting thing I've seen is when Born Again they said it was going to be called Born Again. A lot of people who are Daredevil fans are like, well, that was season 3. Because if you remember season 3, and interestingly enough, I actually used to train jujitsu with Ron Garney, the guy who co-created Muse. So when the trailer came out, I hit him up and I'm like, did you know? He goes, somebody shot me a few texts that they might be using Muse, but he was like, to see the trailer, he was like, it was like a dream come true to say, hey, this thing that I helped create is now live action. And he was just so happy that it looked, accurate to what he'd created. So that's pretty awesome. But I've asked him, he goes, season 3 was Born Again. So he's trying to figure out what they were going to do with this.
Yeah. So from my understanding of it is that, before the strike, they had filmed like 6 episodes, and it was pretty different from what we've seen so far. Including they didn't have like that sequence at the beginning of episode 1. So from what I understand, like you never even saw the suit until like the 4th episode. And apparently during the strike, Cox and D'Onofrio went to Feige and said, "Hey, we got some problems here," and they listened and they talked it out. They kind of looked at what they had. I think they fired the writers and got new
I
writers,
think they scrapped
and they kind
everything.
of they took what and they just kind of said, "Okay, this isn't working. We've looked at it, and it's just not the story that we really want to tell." And you got to hand them that for for doing that, and and committing to that. So they wrote a new pilot, which we saw, and they replaced a couple of the episodes that they had filmed, and then kind of re-edited around some of the stuff that they had, and um so far I'm kind of enjoying it. I think that I hope they kind of get more into the Punisher stuff. I kind of hope they get more into. So my understanding is that this is really it's the way they have it mapped out. It's an 18 episode arc,
Yeah, it's supposed to be
and they're
split.
going to be splitting it into 2 seasons.
Yeah,
But it's basically one story told over 18 episodes.
works for me. They
Yeah.
they've earned my trust.
No, they definitely have. I mean, the Netflix series on Netflix was, the Netflix series Daredevil was the best, like you said, was the best that they had done. Probably the best TV they've done, period. And I know, and probably some of that was due to the fact that it was fairly hands off
Hmm.
by Marvel. Um,
I saw
and go ahead.
one of the showrunners said the biggest issue was just money. He said there will be times where they'd be like, "Hey, we want to do something bigger," and he said the people that were in charge of Marvel TV at the time, who are the people in charge now, were just penny pinching.
Right. Well, was that like Perlmutter days back then, or
I
I don't even
think
remember.
post Pearl Mutter, but there was still some of that old guard left. He said none of those people are around anymore.
Yeah. Well, there was like a big split there because you had the Netflix people doing their thing, and then you had like the Agents of Shield people doing their thing,
Hmm.
and they were kind of more closely aligned with the MCU. And so this is, one of the things that I've seen is like this is Daredevil being born again into the MCU, where he's like now it's going to run with kind of full continuity with some of the stuff that's going on and stuff, and obviously we've seen Charlie Cox in the Spider-Man movie. Did he do another he was in a Hawkeye, right?
No, he was in Echo, and then
Okay.
he was in She-Hulk. And it's interesting because you see, I don't know why everything got scrapped from this, but it's basically like the Netflix Daredevil that shows up in Echo, and it's the Netflix Kingpin that shows up in Echo as well. And did you catch the joke that they made about the tracksuit mafia in that first episode?
Yep.
And
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was like, that wasn't a mistake. That was intentional.
No, not at all. No, they wanted to connect the dots, so to speak.
Bury that thing. And they weren't bad in Hawkeye. Like they fit the tone of that show, but that didn't fit with this. I'm glad like Feige and these guys had an open mind and were able to listen. And this is what I had wanted to discuss. Like, I think this thing needs to grow up a bit. This started what, 2009, 2008?
The original show?
Yeah,
No, it wasn't that old.
MCU.
In 2008, yeah.
Kids that probably started watching this at 5. What, teenagers now? Late teenagers? Maybe 20s?
Early 20s, yeah. I mean, it's 17, going on 17 years.
This thing can grow up now. It has to. It has to evolve in some way. The formula, I don't know if it works anymore.
Well, I think they need to find their new formula, you know. Obviously, you know, so you had the Infinity Saga,
Mm-hmm.
and that had, you know, probably by the time you got to like Iron Man 2, Winter Soldier, like that pretty much was on the ground and running.
Yep.
And knew what it was. You know, then Endgame happens. It's like, okay, now what? And so they tried a couple of different things. They tried Eternals. They tried, oh, well, let's reinvent a couple of things that we reinvent. Let's, you know, Ragnarok was really successful, so let's double down on that. That didn't work. You know, Captain Marvel was okay, so let's double down, you know, and Miss Marvel was successful, so let's double down on all that, and maybe that didn't work. I think Eternals is better than people give it credit for, but
Agree.
I think it just maybe landed at the wrong time. Like if that movie had come out like 2 years later, I think it would have gotten received better. And so I think they're still trying to find their footing. Hopeful, and then obviously, and we haven't talked about it yet, but obviously they had to take a big left turn off of Kang and kind of reinvent themselves, and we'll see if that turns out to be maybe, you know, maybe that works going with Doctor Doom. Who knows?
Yeah, we're gonna have to get to our buddy Kang next episode. We were gonna have a long discussion about him, but I've been up since 5 a.m. And I think it'll work better because I'm gonna try to see Magazine Dreams this weekend and lift some weights. I'm inspired to lift weights again. Anything else you want to discuss before we get out of here?
No. I look forward to that discussion because I've been doing a lot of reading about that situation and that movie and what it's, you know, what reactions were when it hit the festivals and what everybody thought about it and what everybody thinks about it now. It's kind of a interesting story. So we'll definitely have to talk about that next time.
Another thing I do want to say before we get out of here, Star Wars Outlaws. Very, very good game. Caught it on sale for $30, folks. I'm glad I bought it now because I heard there was a lot of issues when it came out. They fixed a lot of things.
Is it Game Pass?
No.
Oh.
And it's another testament to that. More stories that don't involve Skywalkers and don't involve Jedis.
Well, I'm always down for that.
And I think something you will like is that you're essentially playing like a female Han Solo, but more like a cat burglar, like a heist and all that stuff. Like it's in the vein of that Solo movie. And you've got these different crime syndicates that you're always trying to play off of, and you're managing your reputation with each. So like one is the Pikes, Crimson Dawn, the Hutts. I can't remember the other one. But it's cool because like I'll give you an example. Like I was on one heist. They sent me to put a bomb somewhere. And when I got to the place to put the bomb down, one of those weird aliens that was a X-Wing fighter shows up and he's like, "Hey, instead of playing that bomb, give me the list of the clients for the huts, and you'll gain more favor with us. And I was surprised the game actually gave me a choice, and I'm like, I don't want to cross the huts right now. So he tried to shoot me, and it goes into like this draw scenario, sort of like the Guido thing. And you shoot him, and then now my reputation with this syndicate is bad, so I can't go on their territories. And immediately the next mission is like, hey, we do need you to go back in their territory and steal something else. You get a ship, you get a speeder, so I'm interested to see where the rest of the game goes, but it seems pretty good. So yeah, Star Wars Outlaws. I think it's definitely worth the pickup, folks. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, I don't think so.
I'm Mr. Rand.
I'm kind of bummed, man. It's like I pay for Game Pass, man. I don't know if I want to pay $70 for a game.
Well, it's they keep discounting like because I was gonna get it in January, and it was $40. And then when I went to go get it, the sale was done. Then I caught it on sale again. It was $30. And then there's this site I've been using. What is it? CD Keys. There's a lot of like digital games up there, and like heavily discounted. Because I'm actually not paying my Game Pass subscription right now. I'm actually surprised this game isn't in Game Pass because it didn't sell well at all. And usually that's what Ubisoft has done. Once it doesn't sell,
is it in Ubisoft Plus?
Probably. And I think that's what, like $17 for the month or $15. That's not a bad thing too. Like you pay that for the month and just see, okay, do I really like this?
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe I'll just pay that for the month and then play it and see if I like it.
Yeah, I think you will. I'm off Tatooine. I'm not even sure what planet I'm on right now, but it's pretty good. Well, folks, thank you for joining us this week. Looking forward to talking to y'all next time about Jonathan Majors, Magazine Dreams, Daredevil, and Michael going to the pit. Or is it done?
Pit. I think there's probably two more episodes. Let me check.
Also, Surface is back, and that show's really good.
Yeah, I think there's one more episode this season. Yeah, what else? When does Andor hit? That's not for a while, right?
No, not for a while. And then I think Last of Us in April.
Yeah. So Andor is April 22nd. Last of Us season 2. I don't know when that is. April 13th. So it'll be a busy April.
Nice. All right, folks. Thank you for listening. Have a good one.
Take care.
Peace.